Okay, just throw a subject out there tonight. My grandson and I were talking, and he wanted to hear a little bit about Jesus turning the wine and turning the water into wine. We're practicing a song that says, "Turn the wine back into water." So, if I get mixed up a little bit tonight, you know why. But in the original state where Christ turned the water into wine was at a wedding feast. There's a lot of implications, a lot of theories about why Christ did it at a wedding, why he chose this particular time to do. And I'm thinking this was his very first miracle that he did. He supernaturally turned water into wine. And it wasn't just any kind of a wine, but it was the best wine those people had ever tasted. And if you think about it, God turns all water into wine. The process that God set up causes water, when you add fruit to it, causes it to turn into wine, and of course other alcoholic drinks as well that they use to do that, depending on the process that you make. I think grapes, they throw a little bit of, they put water, a little bit of yeast, and throw a lid over it and let it sit there and ferment until the alcohol builds, and they call that wine. And that's a natural process that God set up. But now this is not the process that God chose to do on this day, because he told those ladies, he said, go and get some containers and fill them, vases, and fill them full of water, because his mom had asked him, and he's like, what have I to do with you? So anyways, his mother Mary instructed the ladies to go and tell those people to do what he asked. So he did, and they said when it came around, I mean, could you imagine the faces of these people waiting to see what the reaction of the folks at the dinner were gonna what they were gonna say, and some of them apparently were expecting to get water instead of wine, and they got wine, but not just any wine, the best in the house, the best they had. They said they saved the best for last. So it wasn't just something that because now if the Lord hadn't done the best for last, some people would have said, well, that was just residue of the first wine still, and then the people were drunk and they couldn't tell the difference. So the agnostic, atheist people could say wasn't a real miracle. But not only was it wine, but it was the best wine that we had. My grandson's going to sleep over there on me, conked out, and he should. It's was it 1 o'clock in the morning? About 10 till. So, but now this is what I want to talk about, because everybody knows the story about water into wine, but I want to say what Christ did here. Christ moved into a supernatural realm, so to speak. He moved from the natural to the supernatural. It's not, what Christ did there was not within the same world that we live in. Don't expect atheists to understand what you're talking about when you tell them that Jesus turned water into wine. because they'd understand nothing outside of the natural world. They don't understand. They don't comprehend it. To them, there is no God, so doing godly things is beyond their comprehension. But at the same time, those folks, they say that life came from nothing, and all of a sudden life was in a little mud hole. You know, now wait a minute. It'd be a lot easier to believe that Jesus turned the water into wine. Life evolved from a mud hole? No, you know, through all the scientific experiments that we've ever performed, proves that life conceives life. Life only comes from life. Don't come from anywhere else. Okay? So we're talking about a miracle, a supernatural miracle, and moving into a world where the natural no longer makes sense. We're moving, I'm going to say that again, we're moving into a place where the natural world no longer makes sense. You thought that you had it all figured out, and all of a sudden you realize that you don't know anything. And that's the way God is. God is so vast and so beyond our reach. You know, if you look at the chemical scale that we have, where molybdenum, silver, you know, I forget what you call that scale. It's a chemical scale. I'll probably think of it, the name of it, about the time we get done here. But the charts that are laid out in order, and they have them in their certain places, and when they get all of them that we know in that chart, and you can see that there's about half of them missing still. So there is chemical equations that we got no idea what they are. And Jesus, not only did he do that, but Jesus spoke and life came back into a man. The Lord spoke and leprosy, a disease, left a man. He spoke and a lady that was sick of who knows what, running a fever, some kind of infection apparently, and the infection just left her body. So Christ operates in a world that we naturally do not understand. So how and why are people so shocked when he does something as simple as turn water into wine? And there has been a few times where Jesus turned wine back into water. You know, signifying, of course, that he took the habit of alcoholism out of men's lives. He's really good at doing the right thing at the right time. And sometimes it means turning water into wine. Sometimes it means turning wine into water. Amen. God bless. Thanks for joining. We'll see you again next time. Another great message, Crossing the Middle Ministry.